All right, let's talk about one of the most maddening experiences in life. You know, when you do everything right, but it all just falls apart. In this explainer, we're going to dig into this idea of divine disruption and see if we can find some real purpose when our plans just, well, don't work.
I mean, this is the question that just haunts you, right? You did the prep work, you were smart about it, you prayed. On paper, it was absolutely perfect. But the result? Nothing. It's that quiet, nagging feeling that makes you wonder, what on earth did I miss?
And this stuff shows up in the most personal, painful ways. That opportunity you were a shoo-in for, it vanishes. The relationship that made all the sense in the world just stalls out. And it's not just a bummer, it's genuinely confusing, because you weren't being reckless, you were being careful.
So, to really get a handle on this, the source material says we have to make a huge shift in our focus. We got to move away from our own logic and actually dare to look at this whole thing from a totally different angle.
You know, what's so interesting here is how it frames the whole problem. Drawing from Psalm 12, it kind of paints a picture of a world where all our human stuff, it's just not stable. People's words fail, our best systems break down. So the whole idea is to shift where we put our trust, away from these shaky human things and onto what the source calls divine certainty. Basically, something that's totally stable when everything else feels like it's built on sand.
And here it is. This is the absolute core of the idea. This might not be about you messing up or having a lack of faith. The source suggests that sometimes the very thing that made perfect sense, your killer strategy, your discipline, your careful planning, was slowly, quietly, taking the place of your actual trust in God. So the disruption, it's on purpose.
Okay, so if it's intentional, then what's the point? Let's break down the 4 big reasons the source gives for why God might step in and interrupt our most logical, well-thought-out plans.
All right, first up, this one is all about who gets the credit when things finally do work out. Seriously, think about it. If every single one of our smart plans worked out perfectly, we'd just pat ourselves on the back, right? We think our strategy was genius. By allowing things to not work, God kind of takes the easy explanation off the table. That way, when success does come, but in a way you never could have planned, you know it wasn't just you. Now for reason number 2, and this one cuts a little deeper. It's about those hidden things we start depending on without even noticing. This is such a huge insight. We're not talking about bad habits here. We're talking about good things, being disciplined, being prepared, being strategic. But the moment those good things become our ultimate security blanket, a disruption acts like a spotlight. It shows us in no uncertain terms what we've really been putting our trust in. So, after the disruption exposes the problem, the third reason is all about building the solution.
You know, it's pretty easy to say, I trust God when everything is going your way. But the source here argues that real, battle-tested trust, that's forged when things fall apart. It's that moment when the plan fails, and you have a choice. You can panic, you can get bitter, or you can withdraw. Choosing not to do any of those things, that's when trust gets real.
And that leads us right into the 4th and final reason the source gives for these divine interruptions. And I love this one because it's not about being punished for rebellion. It's way simpler. Sometimes we're just so busy moving forward with our heads down, so focused on our plan, that we've just gotten distracted. This disruption isn't a slap on the wrist. It's more like a gentle but firm tap on the shoulder, an invitation to just pause, look up, and get your focus back on Him. Okay, so understanding all these reasons leads us to the most important part of this whole journey, a complete shift in how you see the entire situation. This right here, this is the turning point. And this slide just nails it. It's about moving from that place of frustration, this should have worked, which is all about our own logic, to a place of faith. God is working, even if I have no idea how. It doesn't make the hurt disappear, but it completely changes your posture in the middle of it.
So what do you actually do when you're in the thick of this? Let's walk through 4 really practical steps for how to keep moving forward when your logic has totally failed you.
First, just pause. Don't immediately try to fix everything. Instead, ask, God, what are you showing me here? Second, refuse to let your confusion be the end of the story. Just because it doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean it's senseless. Third, hold on tight to what is consistent, God's character, especially when the outcomes are not. And finally, number 4, keep moving. Faith isn't about being paralyzed, it's about taking that next step, but this time with dependence instead of a death grip on control.
And all of this brings us to a final, really powerful way to reframe the whole experience. It's about seeing the disruption not as a failure, but as something else entirely.
What if that delay isn't a no, but is actually protecting you from something you can't even see yet?
What if that frustrating disruption is really a course correction, pushing you into a better alignment with a much bigger purpose?
And what if all that frustration, all that waiting, isn't just wasted pain, but is actively shaping you, forming your character and your faith into something so much stronger?
So in the end, the Source leaves us with this incredible question to chew on. What if these moments that feel like your biggest setbacks are actually God's primary invitations? An invitation into a life that knows how to truly, fully trust Him, especially when it makes no sense at all.